Today's lesson is over rate of change. There is a lot of writing for these notes, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go through the notes. And if you need extra time, please just stop the video, pause the video, write down what you need to, then hit play to continue to hear the explanation. Rate of change. Rate of change is a ratio that compares the change in y, the dependent variable, to the amount of change in x, the independent variable. It is written as change in y over change in x. And where you have the triangle, it's actually like a Greek symbol for change. So you have delta y over delta x. The steps to find the rate of change from a table. First, you have to find the amount the y values are increasing or decreasing. Then we have to find the amount the x values are increasing or decreasing. Then you're going to write the change as a ratio of y over x for each interval. We're going to simplify the ratios, and then we're going to decide, is it constant or is it variable? If it's constant, it's actually going to make a linear equation. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make a table, and we're going to go through these steps, okay? So the first example. Two and 6, 6 and 18, 8 and 24, 10 and 30, 14 and 42. All right, so if it is giving you a table like this, what we have to do is we have to figure out what is the change in each of the variables. Well, the first one says find the change in y, so we're going to work with y first. What is the difference between 6 and 18? It is an increase, so do a plus sign, of 12. What is the difference or the increment increase or decrease of 18 to 24? Well, to go from 18 to 24, you have to add 6. From 24 to 30, you have to add 6. And from 30 to 42, we have to add 12. Okay? So that is the change in the x or the y values. So now we need to see what is the change in the x values. To go from 2 to 6, we have a plus 4. From 6 to 8, we have a plus 2. From 8 to 10, that's another increment of plus 2. And 10 to 14 is an increase of plus 4. Now, we have found the amount the y values are increasing or decreasing. Then we found the amount that the x values are increasing or decreasing. So now we're going to write the change as a ratio of y over x for each interval. So now we are going to write the change in y over the change in x. Okay? So what we're doing is we're actually, and you don't have to circle these. Here, let me write it in blue. What I write in blue, you do not have to write on your notes. I'm looking at these numbers right here, and I'm putting those together. Putting those together, and those together, okay? So, the change in y from the first to the second was 12. The change in x was 4. 12 over 4 can be simplified because the law says to simplify the ratio. Okay, so 12 over 4 actually simplifies down to 3. So let's do the next one. 6 over 2. And that simplifies down to 3. And then we have another 6 over 2. That simplifies down to 3. Then we have a 12 over 4. And that simplifies down to 3. That's the change in y over the change in x. So I have a 3 over each interval. So what does that mean? That means that the rate of change, oopsie, we'll say equals, is constant. And it's changing at a rate of 3. So it's a constant rate of change of 3. All right. Let's look at another one. Sometimes your tables look like this. -6, -9, -15, -18, 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, So let's figure out the change in y over change in x. So the difference between 2 and 4 is an increase of 2. The difference of 4 and 6 is an increase of 2. 6 and 8 is an increase of 2. Okay? So now let's figure out the change in y. To go from -6 to -9, you actually decrease by 3. So you put a subtraction sign. Go from -9 to -15, that is a decrease of 6. And then if you go from -15 to -18, that's a decrease of 3. Okay? So what we're going to do here is now we're going to, remember in blue, you don't have to write what I write in blue. Okay, so we're going to say the change in y over the change in x. So you have 2 over -3, and that does not simplify down. The next one is going to be 2 over -6. That simplifies down to -1/3. And then the next one here is 2 over -3, which doesn't simplify. The only way you can simplify that is if you put your negative with your numerator. So if you want to write that, you can. All right. So my rate of change is -2 over 3, -1/3, and -2 over 3. Is that the same fraction or ratio all the way through? No. So my rate of change is variable. The rate of change is variable. All right? So now let's learn what is a rate of change from, how do you find rate of change from a graph? So that's going to be the next thing that we do. Rate of change from a graph. If there is a constant rate of change, the graph will be a straight line. You're going to have a ratio of rise over run. So what you're going to do is you're going to work with the y values first, and you're going to figure out the rise. What is the change from one point to the next? How many times do you have to go up? And the run is how many times you have to go over. Okay? So what do I mean by that? Well, let's talk about it. The steps to find rate of change from a graph. 1, pick 2 consecutive ordered pairs on the line. Make sure that they are whole number values. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a whole number value. Make sure that you're choosing a point on a line that crosses like an intersection where 2 lines join together on the graph paper. Number 2, start from the leftmost ordered pair and count up or down to the next ordered pair. This is your rise. Okay, you're either going to rise up or rise down or go down. We call it rise even though it's a negative rise. Number 3, then count the number of units to the right until you reach the next ordered pair. This is your run. Now you always move to the right. The reason you're always moving to the right is because your first ordered pair that you come to, your leftmost ordered pair, you're only going to have another ordered pair to go to on your right. Okay? Then we're going to write the ratio as rise over run, which is the same as the change in y over the change in x. So let's create some graphs and let's do some work. All right, examples. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. -1, -2, -3, -4. Okay. We're going to say we have a point at -3, 3. And we're going to make a point at -2, 1. All right. Now, when you have a graph that you're working with on paper, this is much easier because you can actually count the lines and see where it's at. But right here, this point is at -3, 3. And this point is at -2, 1. Okay? Let me highlight those so we can actually see them. Now, we have to start with our leftmost ordered pair. Okay, as I'm going across the graph from left to right, this is the very first ordered pair I come to, all right? So if you're here, we have to do rise over run. We either have to go up to our next ordered pair or down. Well, I have to go down. So I have to go down 1, 2. So my rise is actually -2, okay? Now, I'm right here, but I've got to go move to the right. Well, how many do I move over? 1. So my run is 1. All right? So we're going to rewrite this. We say, what is your rise? What is your run? Well, my rise was -2 over my run is 1. So you can leave it like that, or you can simplify it down to -2. All right? Let's do one more. All right, so let's put a point right here. We're going to put a point up here. And I think that's good, okay? Well, actually, on my notes in class, I had one more point, so let's... And so I wanted 5, 3. Okay, so let me draw my line here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to figure out the rise and the run. So let me go ahead and write this out. I'm actually going to start with this point, 2, 2, and then I'm going to work with this point, 5, 3. Okay, 2, 2, and 5, 3. Now, we're going to do the rise. Since I'm starting with this point and I'm going to this point, I go from here to here. So my rise is a +1. Now, it's a little difficult to see on this one, but we're going to go from here and we have to go over 1, 2, 3. So my run is 3. So we come over here and we write, or I'll write down here, rise over run. My rise was 1, my run was 3. So my rate of change is 1/3. All right, copy down those notes. If you have any questions, please let me know.